And then there's other stuff like, I remember when I first heard about front sight focus, and I was like trying to comprehend, like, dude, people look at their front sight when they're shooting. I never did that with a rifle, with pistol, nothing. Like my pellet guns over the years, like I want to look at the target or the bird or whatever I'm shooting at, and I learned to shoot with the blurry sight picture. And I was like, I just assume that's what people do. I would maybe, like, for a really tough shot, I would focus on the front sight and confirm my alignment, and then I would focus back on the target after that.
Welcome to the Firearms Nation podcast, and I am here again, finally. It's been a while, I know. I had a lot going on. I had some surgery. I traveled out of the country. I know that's no excuse not to get shows up, but I'm doing my best. I'm a one-man show, and I enjoy doing this so much that it hurt not to be here. So I am back with a fantastic guest. I can't wait to get to it. If you are listening to the show, remember to please subscribe on whatever podcast app, whatever you're using. That always helps, especially, since it's been a while. I need to get all the help I can get. And likewise, if you're watching this video up on YouTube, subscribe to the Firearms Nation channel. That way you'll get the new content when I post it, even if it's a couple months. But I appreciate everyone who's tuning in for the first time. And of course, I appreciate all the listeners that I've had through all these years. We're at 6-7 years now. So it's great. And I'm really excited to bring on my guest tonight, who also was a listener, which I was very excited to hear. So there was this little thing called the IPSC, which is probably you have USPSA, which is, the U.S. pistol and rifle, but it's the U.S. based, but it's part of the IPSC, which is the international pistol shooting and rifle shooting. Like Eric Raffel, who's been on the show before, he's like an IPSC shooter. We've talked about that. And I think it's like International Pistol Shooting Confederation, but they do have rifle. But tonight, I am not bringing on the Pistol World Champion, which is Eric Raffel. I'm bringing on a rifle shooter who just won the 2024 IPSC World Championship. And I always love having world champions on because it's amazing to hear their stories. It's amazing to understand their techniques and their thoughts on how they get to that winning mentality. And I know maybe there was some little luck, and we'll ask him about it. But tonight I have Kyle Litzie on, and if I screwed up his name, he's about to tell me. But he just won the 2024 World Championship, and he's been a rifle champion for a while. So I'm very excited to have him, to hear about his story, his past, and of course, what he's shooting. So let me bring him on. Kyle, how you doing?
Doing good. Really glad to be on the show. Thank you.
Did I put
thank
your
you for
name?
having me on.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
No,
Please.
it is Kyle Litzie. Yeah, a lot of people make it Polish and they make it Lipski, but no, it's Kyle Litzie. That's perfect.
Excellent.
You did
yes.
butcher IPSC a little bit. It's International Practical Shooting Confederation.
Practical shooting. Oh my God.
I've had the same thought. I
I
was like, why is it pistol shooting? They have shotgun and rifle too. Oh yeah, it's practical shooting.
Practical shooting. You know what? We're on different time zones. He's in another country, and technically, right? He's in another country.
Yeah,
and
might as well be.
Might as well be. And I'm here in Florida, and by my time, it's almost 10 o'clock, which equals my bedtime. So if I'm a little tired, I had a busy day at work, so you'll have to excuse me. But I'm sure I can see, if I'm looking at my phone, yes, the hate mail is coming in right now for butchering from my international friends. I'm sorry. International practical shooting, because it's more than pistol, it's rifle, and there is shotgun. We do have world championships in shotgun. But we're here today to talk about rifle, which is exciting because I've had people like Josh Freilich on, and I think I had another rifle shooter, but not many rifle shooters. I usually have a lot of pistol guys on, simply because it's very common for people to carry a pistol on the job or as EDC.
For sure.
But it's cool that you got into rifles. So I'm just going to start with that right off the bat. You know, how did you get into rifle shooting in the first place?
It's kind of been a lifelong obsession. I've been shooting rifles ever since I could get my hands on one. I remember meeting I guess you'd call it a step cousin for the first time, and he had a BB gun. I was probably 12 years old, Sean, and he was like, "Hey, you want to shoot this BB gun?" I was like, "Oh yeah, this is all I ever want to do." And you know, I spent my days through junior high and early high school like shooting pellet guns in my side yard all the time. I spent all my time shooting pellet guns. When I finally got a 22, it was, you know, trying to go out to places where I could shoot as often as possible. My stepdad actually took me out to a range out here in California, the other country that I live in, and I shot my first AR-15 when I was probably 13. And you know, I remember just thinking of how smooth it was. I remember thinking like, wow, I thought I was going to recoil a lot more like my grandpa's 30-06 did. But yeah, shooting's been a lifetime pursuit for me. Before competition, I loved it. I played paintball competitively also, which isn't a real rifle, but if you think of paintball like not the woods ball stuff, but the stuff in the airball bunkers where it's like a symmetrical field and there's like, you know, ranking systems and it gets really serious. I was in that for more than 10 years as well. So a lot of hours spent doing that. Really loved playing paintball. And when I found out about, you know, competitive shooting through seeing videos of Red October and AK match, I kind of started transitioning over to this sport from paintball.
So you mentioned Red October, which was a very cool book, but and that's really, really before your time. If you saw the Hunt for Red October, you probably more reference than the book. What is that?
So Red October is an all AK match. It's like a Kalashnikov match. It was started by my friend Brian Nelson, who's, you know, he's an instructor and he's like an OG competitive shooter, really, really solid. I say OG, he's like 25 or something. But yeah, Brian started this match back in 2016. So I think I saw the videos of it, the first one in 2016, all Kalashnikov. There's multiple divisions with, you know, like heavy and light, where you're shooting either a 7.6239 or a 5.45 by 39, iron sights or optics, depending on if it's open or standard heavy. And I loved AKs at the time. I had, I should say, like going back to when I was a kid, my first rifle was a SKS. And yeah, I bought that at a gun show. And just absolutely love that gun. I love that caliber, the 7.6239. And from there, I bought multiple AKs in the same caliber. Love shooting them and seeing that I could go run around, use barricades, shoot a bunch of steel setup, do all these different stages. I mean, they even had like trenches and stuff that you'd run through and shoot stuff. I was like, oh, I'm doing this. And, you know, I thought it was going to be like a side hobby at the time. I thought it was going to be something I would just go do for fun, but it turns out I'm like super competitive, I guess. And when I went and shot my first USPSA to prepare for it, because I found one local to me, that kind of sucked me in.
You shot a USPSA match with an AK?
With a normal, no, just MMP.
Oh.
Yeah, I shot my normal pistol, but I wanted to get prepared for Red October, and, you know that I wouldn't get disqualified or whatever. So I was like, oh, I'll find one of these practical shooting matches. And I showed up at a local USPSA. And that was a pretty cool experience. going from paintball to that, like paintball is pretty, I mean, it's a fighting sport really when you get down to it. So everybody's pretty aggressive towards each other. Like there's not, I mean, I had a coach at the time that was like yelling at us for saying what's up to the other teams and being buddy with them. He's like, you don't do that. Those are the enemy. And I mean, I get it now. And going to a USPSA match where everybody was super friendly. This guy, Jeff Church, he kind of took me under his wing and I would shoot with him all the time. He taught me like the ropes. And from there, another friend, Hugh Peterson, this guy, he was like, oh, you're going to come shoot a 3-gun match. It's in 2 weeks. And I was like, I don't know about that. I don't know about shotgun and all that. But he convinced me, went and shot a 3-gun match. And sorry if I'm getting on like too many tangents here, but so I show up to that first 3-gun match and totally, I've shot 1 USPSA match, 0 experience, and Max Leograndis is my squad. Or do you know who Max is?
Yeah. Sure. I've interviewed him several times. He's quite the guy. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, Max is in my squad. I have no idea who Max is.
Oh wow.
I've got my AK-74 with an Obzor on it. It's like this Russian optic that's like a collimator sight, no magnification. And the first stage goes down, and I did pretty well. Like I did really well for being a new shooter because of all the paintball. Like I could move with guns. That was totally normal for me. I spent most of my shooting time in the desert, so I would run around and do way more dynamic shooting than most people do that just shoot at public ranges. But then I see Max shoot, and it's like, okay, like this is normal. Like this is how good people are at this sport, and I was blown away. And I beat him on a long range stage, so I was pretty stoked on that.
Wow, and that's your first match?
My first match, but I mean, Max isn't a long range guy. He's insane in bays, and like he's never claimed to be a crazy long range guy. And I was just excited. I was like, okay, I won 1 stage. That's pretty cool. But I did it all the time. I was always training, shooting 300 plus yards with my AK. But yeah, Max was insane. Seeing him shoot and the potential in the sport was pretty cool. I realized shortly after that like he wasn't just a normal dude, like an average dude in the shooting sports. But yeah, I had the time of my life. I remember driving away from the range and just thinking like, yeah, this is probably what I want to do. I don't know exactly what I want to do with it or where I want to go, but there's something about this, and I'm going to pursue it. So yeah, that was kind of my start in the competition scene.
What year was this?
2017.
Okay, not that long ago. About 7 years ago.
Yep, about 7 years.
So you're hooked with the shooting bug. What was your next step after that? I mean, what were you shooting for a handgun at that time?
I had a M&P, just standard M&P 9. I bought before California banned them from the roster for whatever insane reason. From there, I was like, okay, I want a competition gun. I know people are they're gonna laugh at me. I bought an XD, Springfield XD 9, and I decked that thing out. I put the trigger in it, something Creek trigger, and I put the Dawson sights, which are really good sights, and some buffers, not a buffer system, but yeah, new spring buffer thing in it. And I mean, honestly, that thing shot pretty good. I can't shoot Glocks. I literally like mechanically cannot shoot them. I get I got pretty big hands, and it literally just tears into my knuckle if I can get a decent grip on the gun. I know people say, oh, anybody can shoot. It's like, not really, dude. Like I cannot shoot a Glock very well. So that was the first one. I had that for like a year, and then I went to the Shadow 2. So
then you really got into it.
Yeah. Then that, yeah. I'm like, okay, this thing's holding me back. Then get the Shadow 2, and then
with the bull barrel and the bushings and all the heavy grip, and yeah. So you're basically shooting a 50-ounce gun. Yeah, I gotcha.
Exactly. And I'm a super like, I don't know what you want to call it, a tinkery kind of person or kind of an engineer brain. So
Well,
I'm
considering your
messing with
job.
everything. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, my company. I'm kind of the engineer in the company. But yeah, I tinkered with that thing. I made like because in production division in USPSA you can't have a mag well, so I'm making like little metal pieces that feel like a mag well on the bottom of your palm when you're shooting it without the mag well. So when I'm switching back and forth between 3-gun and USPSA production at the time, which was cool at the time, I would feel the same, and messing with sights and messing with all the internals and yeah, bushings like you said. So yeah, that escalated. Then 2011s. Now I shoot Terran Tactical 2011s, which are like awesome guns. Like I still mess with them probably more than Terran would like me to mess with them. It's more just if you ever see like the Olympic guys, the Olympic like 22 guys and the crazy sculpting that they do to fit the gun to their hand. I don't quite go to that level, but I do a lot of sculpting on the grips, and then I silicone carbide over it. So I can't leave anything alone, man.
Did you see the the Instagram hero, the Turkish guy from the shooting competition?
Of course.
Showed up with the cigarette, the handgun, the hand in the pocket, and like a stock gun, and took the silver medal. Just didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, pretty badass. Pretty badass.
Yeah.
You gotta wonder, did he not give a fuck, or was he just? I don't know.
I don't know.
He just had the look. Like
he had the look.
He raw dogged the Olympics, as people said. Which
absolutely made a hero out of himself. Did you go down that rabbit hole though? In you wanted to do all pistol competition, and then you got into 3-gun, or you just pistol competition was there to help you, but you were like a 3-gun guy, and then branched off to rifle.
Yeah, I was a 3-gun guy for sure. The pistol stuff never appealed to me as much as 3-gun did, and even then, I like shotgun. I've had fun shooting shotgun stuff. It's just really, I would almost prefer to shoot 2-gun. Like I like rifle and pistol. The shotgun and 3-gun just adds there's so much stuff to train, and you're just constantly chasing your tail trying to maintain a high level in the sport. And all the matches don't agree with each other, so they all have different rules and stuff. So you're not only training 3 different guns, but you're training different skills in those guns for each match that you're going to. But yeah, the pistol stuff was more of a training tool for rifle stuff. I mean, like I said, the AK rifle match is what got me into it. I think that honestly, if there was something like IPSC Rifle in the United States, where if we had like a solid hit factor rifle match where you use rifles to shoot rifle distances, and by that I mean anything from point blank to, in my opinion, with a 223, like to keep stuff competitive, like 300 yards or maybe like 350 yards, I would be all in. Like that's all I would do. I love shooting rifles. It's my favorite platform. Always has been. Probably always will be. It's just unfortunately it's kind of strange. Like in the U.S. we don't have IPSC rifle, and we have some rifle matches, but largely nothing that's like hit factor. Besides, I should mention like Max Leograndis. He has his own league, PCSL, which is up and coming, and that right now is like my favorite sport in the U.S. The PCSL 2-gun, because it's a hit factor rifle pistol match, which is fantastic.
I don't know. I think shotgun is a lost art for a lot of people, and like you said, it is complicated, and to stay competitive, there's a lot you have to do with it. I mean, you came to this in 2017. I'm pretty sure by that point, 3-gun was changed. I mean, because I remember, and it had been earlier than that when you're talking about 3-gun on NBC Sports, and you had, that's when Keith Garcia won the big 50 grand prize, and you had all these sponsors. It was amazing. I think it was back in 2010, 2011. And then, there was active shooting. I think it was, Three Gun Nation. And that was like our big ticket, in the shooting sports. We finally kind of went mainstream with it, and everyone was behind it. It was like not primetime NBC, but it was on some cable NBC, and it still had NBC on it until I believe it was Sandy Hook, and then they immediately stopped anything with the rifle because it had something to do with it, and I don't know how, but it had something to do with it. And then Three Gun kind of just took a nosedive, and it was more of now like world type competitions where you got people doing shotgun championships or rifle championships, and then I think people still did the USPSA 3-gun. It's just a little bit different than 3-Gun Nation, the way that they were shooting things and the targets that they were using. Because if they could find an easier target to shoot faster, they would develop it in 3-Gun Nation. Versus, USPSA, you're using USPSA style targets.
And no hit factor. I think 3-Gun Nation was also time plus, like almost all 3-gun in the US is time plus 2 hits anywhere on the target. And yeah, they wanted to make it like look good on film. They wanted to be something engaging. So clays blowing up, get those on film, and falling steel, a lot of falling steel, big steel plates falling down. It looked like it looks better than punching holes in paper. You're like, okay, what target is the guy shooting at? So yeah, I think they're doing a great job. It's a bummer that they have to cancel stuff that we're doing and relate it to horrible stuff that happens in the world.
Mm-hmm. So were you self-taught? Because it didn't seem like you mentioned anything going to some trainers or getting coached. It seemed like you kind of just did it on your own. Is that the right process?
Largely, yeah. I mean, I learned how to shoot mostly by myself. Like I had a family friend that took me out shooting a few times, and he was an old school competition shooter, like where they did multiple position shooting and stuff like that. But he didn't really go into super detail teaching me stuff. I mostly just was like autistically obsessed with shooting rifles all the time, and I kind of figured out my own ways of doing things. And I'm good at looking at people shooting and figuring out what they're doing, like replicating what people are doing. And then there's other stuff like I remember when I first heard about front sight focus, and I was like trying to comprehend, like, dude, people look at their front sight when they're shooting. I never did that with a rifle, with pistol, nothing. Like my pellet guns over the years, like I want to look at the target or the bird or whatever I'm shooting at, and I learned to shoot with the blurry sight picture. And I was like, I just assumed that's what people do. I would maybe like, for a really tough shot, I would focus on the front sight and confirm my alignment, and then I would focus back on the target after that. And that was all just stuff I did because it felt like the right way to do stuff. And then, hearing when I first got in USPSA, I'm hearing people like, oh yeah, front sight focus, and hearing about, like Front Sight Academy, like they literally named the whole thing after the front sight, like looking at it. And I'm just like, I can't imagine doing that. Like the target's blurry. Why would I ever do that? So yeah, I mean, I'm mostly self-taught. I should mention when I got into shooting, I went down the podcast rabbit hole. I listened to all your podcasts with competition guys. I listened to Stegger's, like before it turned into After Dark, like the old Practical Pistol show. I mean, dude, I must listen to almost all of those. And then I listened to a good chunk of the After Dark stuff. The 3-Gun show, which is no longer. I listened to that, and then, that was a huge accomplishment in shooting, was being on the 3-Gun show. I went from listening to Keith Garcia and, Darren Butler to like knowing these guys and hanging out with them. And now I'm on the podcast, which is just insane, an insane feeling for me. But yeah, I learned a lot.
You know Keith Garcia? Keith?
Oh yeah, Keith. I trained with Keith for World Championship.
God, I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry.
I know. Yeah,
he's forbidden to come on the show ever again. That guy,
Really?
he owes me money. He's just a terrible, terrible person. No, I love Keith.
I can see that. No, I had dinner with Keith out in Finland. Keith is a great guy. He's always been like super cool from the first time I met him. Really nice guy, and like one of the few people I can train with that, I'm learning stuff from, shooting with him. So yeah, we had some good sessions. Him, me, and if you know Barry Duke from Surefire. Yeah, so
he's been around forever. Surefire.
He's been around. Yeah, Surefire, Barry. So luckily I was connected with Barry by my friend Luke Agajanian, and I've been training with Barry we were training buddies for World Shoot. We trained from 1 to 3 times a week for 6 months leading up to World Shoot. And Keith came out on a week, or I think he came out for a whole week and did a bunch of training sessions. But yeah, those guys are great. Barry's awesome. Keith, really good guy. But yeah, what a trip. I don't think about it now. There's buddies, but it's actually crazy going from, just somebody who got into the sport to hanging out with these top shooters now.
So when did you start winning matches?
I think when I think back, my first trophy was what's the name of the match? It's an Oregon match. It's a match in Bend, Oregon, and it was a semi-major match. It wasn't like Texas 3-gun or anything, but I think it had, 250 Northwest Multi-Gun Challenge. Sorry, that's what it was called. And that was in 2017. So I think I started maybe really late 2016. I might have started in December or really like January 2017. And then by the end of 2017, I won my first major match, somewhat major match. And then I think the big one that people started noticing and helped me start getting sponsors was 2018. I won the Vortex Texas match. My gosh, it's like right here. Vortex 3-gun, Vortex Shooter Source 3-gun. Sorry. And that was like the first big Texas match that I went out. Nobody knew who I was. I was the dude from California, and somehow the yuppie from California won the match. And that was like people were just like, who is this guy? So that one, and then the very first Red October I shot, which was that 2017 Red October, I got 3rd place there. So I podiumed there, and I worked my ass off. I have videos of me back then out in the desert, setting up things that looked like the YouTube videos that I've seen. So pretty good to podium. And then by 2018, I won Red October, which was like one of my favorite moments in shooting ever. Met Jim Fuller, shook hands with him, got a gun from John at M13, really won my first big prize gun. And I remember they made a little podium. I remember standing up there, and they gave me like a bottle of Russian vodka to fit the the theme of the match. So yeah, like right around 2018, I started winning. And 3-gun's hard. I've won a lot of matches since then, but I've got an insane amount of 2nd places, 3rd places. I did really well in the UML League, the United Multi-Gun League, which was like a really cool style of 3-gun. It actually kind of died in the last year. It fizzled out. Pete Rensing stopped running matches, but that was a more fast-paced, like 3-gun nation style 3-gun. So I won a ton of those, national level match sport. And then, now we just have I've shot Superstition 3-gun for 6 years in a row now. I've only won it one time. I've got a ton of 2nd places, 3rd places. Superstition's it's looked at as like a national level match in 3-gun. But yeah, I would say 2018 started winning stuff.
So, all right. So you won the zombie match, not the zombie match, the Red October. I don't know why I was thinking we have a zombie match here. And I've been watching this zombie show. It's really good. It's called Kingdom on Netflix. If people want to watch it, it's Korean,
nice.
but if you like zombies, it's full on zombie attack.
Oh, cool. I like Squid Games, so
If you like Squid Games, you'll like this.
Yeah,
It's definitely worth it. Were you into sports and stuff like that when you were growing up? I mean, or did you just start competing? Because you said you were a competitor, or was it just like in your DNA that you didn't know it was there until you actually started doing it and you got the high from it?
I'm only good at things that I like to do. My parents tried to put me in baseball, football. I mean, I played football in high school for 2 years because my stepdad bribed me with a paintball gun that I wanted to play paintball, and I thought it was good. I was like, okay, I'll play football so I can get this gun so I can start playing tournaments. Terrible, I was terrible at every sport like that I ever did. I played volleyball. I actually enjoyed tennis. I've played tennis a bit, which I don't know, something about the projectile is more interesting to me. But no, I am not good at normal sports. I never was until I got in paintball. I was pretty. I made it to like Division 2, so it goes from Division 5 to Division 1, where you're mixed in with the pros. Pro would be like the top, but D1's essentially the same. And I made it to D2. So I played paintball at a high level. I was always really good at one-on-one gunfighting people in that sport. I was, a decent team player. I'd get a little lost in the sauce sometimes. That was, just stuff, learning stuff. I think if I would have stuck with paintball, I would almost 100% be playing on a pro team right now, because I was always, so that was something that drove me to shooting sports, is that paintball it used to be a 7-man, now it's a 5v5, and it was for most of my career. But I was relying on these other people. Not that that's bad, and not that teamwork isn't fun. I love, playing with a team, and, fighting people 5v5 is awesome, and communicating and strategizing. But I was always more dedicated than the people on my team. I was always more into it. I always was just obsessed. I wanted to dry fire my paintball gun. I dry fired with the paintball gun. Nobody even talked about that. I just did it. We would be training in my friend AJ's backyard, practicing sliding. He's my boss now, by the way, at the place I work as a clay modeler at Ford. But yeah, we would. I loved paintball, but people would let me down, and you would get pulled on other people's penalties. So if you get hit in paintball and you don't call yourself out, then they'll throw a flag like in soccer, and it can be a minor or a gross penalty. So they either pull one of your teammates out or they'll pull two out, and that happened to me all the time. Getting pulled on teammates, hits, and I just liked in shooting, it was just a solo sport. I was really fighting myself, and I enjoy that. I enjoy, it's just me that I'm really out there competing against.
So you kind of had a linear trajectory up to the world shoot in 6 or 7 years. Was this this wasn't your first world shoot though?
No. I shot 2019. Jojo Vadones, he is a local, he runs a local match out here in California, and he came up to me and he was like, hey, you should come shoot the world shoot. And I was like, dude, I don't know about that. Traveling international, it sounds like a lot of money. He's like, you should do it. You'll do well.
You just can walk up and shoot the world shoot, or you have to get on a team or compete to get a qualifying slot?
So to be on the team, you have to qualify, or in the case of rifle, a committee has to choose you, because we don't have national matches for them to use your scores from, and they can't accept 3-gun scores. It's just, so it ends up being a committee vote. But no, you can go as an individual. If the U.S. has enough slots and you just want to go, then. And right now in IPSC Rifle, usually enough countries will turn in slots because they don't fill out their full, allotted slots, and those go to countries who want more. So it's getting it. Like the next one, if you want to go, doesn't mean you're going to be able to go. You're probably going to have to perform at some level. But then in 2019, yeah, you could go as an individual. So I just paid for. I mean, I paid for everything this time too. I should say I had help from sponsors, which I'll mention. But I paid for all my match fees and everything, and went out there to Sweden, which is where it was in 2019. And that was like one of the best experiences of my life. I had the freaking time of my life. And, I watched videos of it I think a lot of the shooters do this. You're going to a match, you want to research it. I watched every freaking video. Timu Rentana, he was the current world champion. He won in Russia back in 2016. I watched his videos literally hundreds of times. Like he has a full match video of the Russian world shoot. And I learned, I made my own stages and trained based off of what I saw out there. But shooting IPSC rifle for real for the first time in Sweden, like I loved the sport. I loved like what we were doing with the guns felt like practical. Like it felt like real practical use of a rifle. And, just how amazingly set up all the stages were, and no reset. You'd have staff resetting all the stages. You really get to feel like an athlete. it's pretty cool. I did well. So like back in 2019, I'll mention I finished 8th overall, and I learned a lot in doing so.
And that was 8 out of 10, right?
I finished 8th out of the top 10. There was 600 and something.
Okay, I was just kidding. Yeah, 8 out of 10. I'm the best. Good job, Kyle.
Thank you.
Okay, so you went in 2019, and then is it every 3 years, every 4 years, every 2 years?
It's supposed to be every 3, but COVID screwed everything up. So we had 5 years. And I'll also mention something I noticed to kind of plug my brand a little bit, if you don't mind too. But in 2019, I noticed the Europeans had better parts than us, like their guns shot better. I didn't exactly know what it was. I saw they had unique muzzle brakes, which is like all you can really see on the outside of the gun. They had these like 3D printed titanium muzzle brakes. And clearly like their guns just shot flatter than ours. Like there was no way I could do some of these splits on these distances. And I just thought like, dude, it's our gun. Like the AR-15 it's Eugene Stoner's design. Like it's a US made gun. It's ours. Like we need to have the best parts. And so like I teamed up with my business partner now and my good friend Zach Smith, and we started engineering parts like almost immediately when I got back. We started engineering muzzle brakes and buffer systems. So it's really, that's like one of the most satisfying things of winning this world shoot is that like I literally design parts to give myself an advantage to win this world shoot. And I mean, I not just for me, like I sell them to whoever wants them. But I use parts that I literally designed and prototyped by hand. Like, I mean, I manually machined prototypes of these things when they first came out. And I used it on my gun to win the world championship 5 years later. So
let's talk about this world shoot that you won. When did you start preparing to go to this world shoot? 2019. No, I'm just kidding.
2019. I'm not even kidding. Like actually 2019. It changed the way that I thought about rifle when I shot that match. And
in what way?
I just wanted like in the States, people will move gear around and mess with it, and they want to use a red dot for this match because it's faster and the stuff's only this far. And, I want to use this ammo for this. And, I want to use this super, like people for 3-gun will load ultra light loads with no recoil. It doesn't matter what muzzle brake you have. It has almost no recoil because it's like, coming out at 2,500 feet per second. I wanted to make in IPSC there's power factor just like in USPSA. So I literally stuck with, I made my load. I figured out what powder I wanted to use, what loads. I kind of stuck with generally the same loads. I kept my Vortex Razor 1-6 like welded onto the gun. Every gun that I've set up has been like identical. I figured out what back then I used the same stock, Dissident adaptive stock. I'd never changed stocks. I basically just like wanted to use an IPSC setup for everything, and ever since 2019 I basically more or less shot the exact same setup on my I did multiple rifles, but I used them like that. And then I should say in the last year, probably almost exactly a year before the match, I started like really cutting off the pistol training and switching over to only hit factor rifle training. I was only shooting IPSC targets. I was shooting minis. I bought these. There's no IPSC mini targets in the United States. Nobody sells them. I had to order them from Canada. So I've got my mini targets. I got my IPSC targets. I'm shooting the white side of the paper. And that was literally like a year before the match. And people know I turned down multi-gun nationals. I didn't want to go because I didn't want to touch a shotgun. I didn't want to mess with my pistol. Like I knew it would take me away from the rifle training. And that was really all I cared about. I was like, I'm going to go to win. Like I didn't think I was going to win, but I was like, I'm going to go win this match. Like I'm going to do everything in my power to try and win this IPSC rifle match.
Well, I noticed that you have the laser cut targets on your wall.
Oh,
and I'm pretty sure it's not for just like ornamentation and design. You're probably using them for dry practice. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have a stupid amount of, these are some of the bigger ones, but yeah, I would say probably for every round that I fired in training, which really wasn't that many compared to probably in a year, I shot like 20,000 rounds, if that. I probably shot 200 clicks in dry fire for every single round that I fired in live fire. Probably more. I'm probably actually, like, it's hard to even guess that, but with pistol, obviously dry fire is amazing, but there's recoil that is a very real part of the equation, and you're just not going to get it in dry fire. And you're not better off using like a simulator, right? Like something that makes it recoil with gas, or like it's just not the real. You need the real recoil. You can't train with a 22 with pistol. You can't train with a sling simulating recoil. With rifle, especially with like the parts that I make, the gun has almost no recoil with proper form. So I use the live fire as like confirmation only to make sure my form is correct and I'm holding the gun in a way so that it tracks correctly. And I get so much out of dry fire. I'm simulating target distance. I'm doing everything in dry fire. Like I am just hammering every skill that I can think of.
And how many days a week do you think you're doing dry fire?
5. Yeah, doing it every weekday. I should say 5. As we got closer to World Shoot, the days where I would live fire, I generally didn't dry fire. Besides at the range, I would dry fire drills a little bit in between live firing them and stuff like that. But on weeks where I'm just shooting on the weekend, I'm live firing 5 times, and I've learned enough from these podcasts and listening to champions, listening to Graffel. You just have to be consistent. You have to stick with. You have to make it a routine and just do it every day. And people want like instant results. I think it was your podcast. I remember you interviewed somebody who said that they dry fired for 8 hours a day. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Several hundred podcasts.
I know. It was a long time ago.
8 hours a day.
Yeah, it was somebody on your podcast a long time ago, and they were talking about when they got into the sport, they dry fired for 8 hours a day for like months at a time, which is complete insanity to me. Like, but
I wonder if it was
know
Steve
people,
Anderson.
It might have been Steve Anderson. It might have been Steve Anderson.
Because I know he was so big on dry firing and still is. Now I'm re-racking my brains all night. I won't be able to sleep.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm gonna have to listen to every episode again just to figure this out.
3
Everything
times
I've ever
speed.
done. Yeah,
Drinking Red Bulls 3 times
You know what?
speed.
I bet there's some AI engine that can just go through every podcast and find words that were said. I'm sure it's out there to do that. But you're an engineer. You can figure this out.
I refuse to use the AI. I hate it. I don't like it. I'll have to use it eventually, but I don't know.
You know, didn't any of these people see Terminator? Are they that young that they haven't seen what's going to happen? It's going to get self-awareness, and then we're going to be like slaves or in some battle with robots.
Or
not
worse.
to get off topic. Not to get off topic.
Or worse.
All right. So you were in the match, and when did you realize that you were going to win the match?
I never did.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't look at scores. I've done both. You know, I've looked at scores like every stage, looking at, what do I need to do? And I find that I just perform better when I don't look at scores. Big part of that being sleep. I find that like subconsciously when I know scores, whether I'm doing good or bad, it infiltrates my subconscious mind, and there's nothing I can do about it. And just it interferes with my sleep, and sleep is just like, I am obsessed with sleep, and I'm not a good sleeper. Like, I have all kinds of issues, so it's like really a huge part of my game is dealing with how am I going to like get the best rest. So I just don't look at it. The only thing I did was ask teammates. You know, I should mention we won gold as a team also. So my teammates, Joe Farewell, AJ Anthony, and Dana Horner, solid freaking team. Like, that's why we won for the first time. But I would ask them like, hey, should I like, I knew I was doing good, but I was like, hey, should I just keep doing what I'm doing? Like, if I theoretically want to win this match, should I step it up? Like, should I push a little harder? And the response every time, as Joe said, was keep doing what you're doing. So I kept doing what I was doing. I never really pushed hard. I never really knew the scores. And I found out that I won the match from the drug test guy who walked up to me after I shot my last stage and was like, "Are you Kyle Litzie?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Did you know?" I'm like, "Did I know what?" He's like, "You won the match." I'm like, heart attack. like, dude, are you sure? I didn't believe him. I honestly, I'm still having, it's a weird feeling. Like, I'm having trouble like accepting the fact that I won a world shoot. It's really a weird feeling. In that very moment when he told me, I was like, this can't be real. There must be a mistake or something. But yeah, I found out from the drug test guys, and he's like, anyways, congratulations. Now don't leave my site until you pee. Like, okay.
Wow, I didn't realize they were drug testing. You know, normally when we shoot these matches, everyone is a little apprehensive when they go to chrono because they want to make sure that not only is there ammo within spec, making power factor, but that they don't have any like crazy, you know, thing in their gun that's going to push them into open if they're shooting production.
Yeah.
But now, I guess in these international competitions, they're drug testing you. That's interesting.
Yeah, they want to be in the Olympics. I mean, the president of IPSC gave a speech at the opening ceremony, and what it boiled down to was like, well, number one, COVID was super dumb, and we don't give a fuck about COVID, and we grew during COVID while everybody else got smaller, and I was like, that's sick based. And then his other point was we are doing everything we can to be in the Olympics, and it's bullshit that we aren't. Like, we are as real of a sport as any other sport, if not way more real than fucking breakdancing. And yeah. And honestly, like the other shooting sports, like, I'm sorry, this is just better. Objectively better. Like, we're running around with real guns, doing practical things. Like, you look at biathlon, it's definitely inspired from, military style shooting where you would move. The Finns know about this big time because they destroyed a lot of Russians on skis. This is like the next level of practical shooting. It should be in the Olympics, and yeah, they drug test the top competitors. And it's the same. I don't know what you call it. The same agency that does it for the Olympics. So they're doing all the things they can to comply with the Olympics to try to get these sports into it. And I don't know, who knows, maybe rifle is going to be easier sell to get in the Olympics than pistol, possibly. Like, hard to say.
Interesting. That'd be interesting, simply because the rifles that they shoot in the Olympics are very different than the weapons of war that you guys are shooting that are scary. They look scary compared to the unicorn terrifying ones. So that's cool. So since we're talking about weapons, you're shooting an 18-inch AR-15, correct? Why 18 inches?
I would say the biggest factor is having a rifle length gas system. If you're going to shoot, I would recommend anybody shooting any sport, honestly, unless you're like planning on, even for fighting rifles, unless you're like planning on, I don't know, like you need to be close to walls for some reason, or you're using it inside of a car. Like, the rifle is designed to use a rifle length gas system. And the reason for that is that you're unlocking the bolt at a lower pressure than you do with like an intermediate, mid-length, or a carbine, or a pistol. Like, you're just getting more and more pressure as the gun's trying to unlock, and that leads to all kinds of issues. Like, it leads to more likely case head separations, leads to more recoil. It leads to worse accuracy, especially when you have like a really long dwell time after the port. Like, you have the port that the gas comes through, and then you have a ton of barrel afterwards, like on a carbine 16-inch. It's like the port's way back here, the barrel keeps going for, I don't know, 10 inches or something. So now the gun's like unlocking and the bullet's still going down the barrel, and you have like velocity fluctuations. So like, there's all kinds of good things about having a rifle length gas. And then right now, like, in my opinion, a 16-inch rifle length gas is on the verge. Like, it's too sketchy. It's not enough dwell time. Whereas an 18-inch rifle length is good. We're actually working on our own barrel right now. We're going to release an unrivaled barrel, which is somewhere in between, I'll say. Rifle length with longer than a 16, shorter than an 18, which is the sweet spot, we think, because it's enough to be reliable. But, for now, with the 18's accurate, gives you enough length to get good velocity to make power factor. For IPS, like I said earlier, you got to make power factor. So you need less powder to make power factor when you have a longer barrel, up till like 20 inches. That's when diminishing returns happen, and they're accurate. They're like the IWI Zion is what I shoot, the SPR, and I'm just shooting stock barrel on the gun. It's a good barrel, shoots 1 MOA, sub MOA with some ammo. It's really all you need. Like, for IPS, another cool thing about IPSC, like, you don't need a crazy accurate gun. If your gun shoots like 1.5, 2 MOA, you're fine.
And then you talked about, you welded your Vortex 1-6 on your rails.
Figuratively.
Figuratively. Why a 1-6 as opposed to like something like a 1-8?
So I use the Razor 1-6 because, well, I know people like first focal plane. I actually like the second focal plane. I want the reticle to stay in the same size. And it also
before,
gives you...
Before you go any further, just explain to people who are listening to this, I don't want them to tune out. When you say first focal plane and second focal plane, what are you talking about?
Okay, so a first focal plane scope, when you magnify, when you zoom in and out, the reticle zooms in and out. The reticle scales. So when you have like a bullet drop lines or mill lines, they scale properly. So you can technically use those lines to do your holdovers at any magnification with the first focal plane. The problem with the first focal plane is that the reticle at 1 power or at the lowest power setting is really tiny. It's zoomed out, and then at the highest setting, it's usually kind of chonky. You get like this, unless it's a really good scope, but a lot of times you get like kind of a chunky reticle. And then like with what we're doing, I want a bright, clean dot. Like I want a freaking red dot, just like in a red dot optic. And with a second focal plane razor, like the razor just has the brightest dot. Like I've seen all these Kyle scopes. They're freaking like, okay. The Kyle's amazing glass. It's like 8 power. Like you got a bigger field of view and stuff, but I'm like the dot is not bright. All the freaking EOTechs, the Night Force, like even Zeiss, every scope I've ever looked through, they just do not have a bright enough dot that Razor 1-6 has. It's tried and true. It's just like shooting a dot. And then it doesn't matter if you're at 1 power or 6 power. It's in your face. It's the same size. It's consistent. And yes, I can only use my graduations, my holdovers on my reticle when it's fully zoomed into 6 power. That's the only time that they match up. But that's fine because I'm going to be at 6 power if I'm shooting at a target that is needed to to hold over. Because out to 200 yards, it's essentially a laser beam. Like there is no drop the way I set the rifle up. You're point aim, point impact to 200 yards. Anything past there, yeah, I'm shooting 300 yards. I'm going to be zoomed into 6 power. So there's really no disadvantage to it, and you get all the advantages of like a really nice clean dot. And I know like a lot of the I've had a ton of PRS guys that are just like, why would you use a BDC? Like it's dumb and like you shouldn't do that. And everybody else does this. I'm sorry, man. BDC is the way. Like if you want to be fast, like if you wanted to do some like practical rifle, we're shooting practical rifle. Dude, I don't want to memorize some random space where it's good. The bullet at 300 yards, it's like, yeah, 1.5 mils, and 400, it's 3.2 mils. Like, no, I want it to be, this line is 300, 400, 500, 600. And the Razor reticle, just about any heavy bullet, like a 75 to 77 grain, a 69 to 77 grain, I should say, you'll be able to do something with it, some zero that will line that reticle up really well. So, I don't know. My opinion, BDC reticles are just better for what we're doing. If I was in a PRS match where I had time to take in environmental factors, to dial, to like make a nice position, great. Yeah, I want a milling reticle. I'm not gonna use it because I'm gonna dial. So, yeah, I think for IPSC style stuff, BDC is really it's just faster and less brain. I don't want to be thinking about stuff. I want to be like in the moment. Just executing the stage, not going into my forebrain thinking about complicated numbers.
There's a tool I just saw. I'm sure I'm behind the curve on this, but I was looking at these scopes. It had a name, but it's basically your support hand's on it, and it's changing the magnification with your hand, your support hand, going back and forth.
Scope switch.
It scope switch, but it had a different name. It had more of a cool name than scope switch. But it's a similar thing. You pull your hand back. Yeah, but I guess I'll have to look that one up. But are you using that, or are you using a lever?
Yeah, I use the throw lever. I just use the Vortex extended lever for it, but I actually machine a little piece of aluminum that extends it like another inch, just about an inch, and I have a bend in it, so it, like when I throw it all the way to 6 power, it doesn't get in the way of my red dot that's mounted at 45, and then it's easy to grab with a finger without looking and just throw it over. So yeah, even that I had to mess with.
Well, like engineers are going to tinker. So now that you're the world champion, what's going to be going on next for you? You got the press tour. Besides that,
yeah, this is it. I'm trying to figure that out. I will say I'm going to shoot some PCC. Also, we're working with a company called Mean Arms on like our own upper receiver for it. And it's like, I haven't ever wanted to dabble in PCC because I felt like they shot like crap. They're all just bouncy and they don't feel like, it's like, why am I shooting 9mm? It feels like a 308. So the JP9 was awesome. It's like an MP5 roller delayed. Now we have the Mean Arms bearing delay. And we're going to do our version of it. It shoots like a rifle, so I'm more interested in it. And there's also PCC World Shoot next year in Czech Republic. So I'm going to go shoot PCC Nationals in a couple months here. And then I'm going to go, not on the team. I don't think I can even be on the team because I don't have enough USPSA Nationals. But I'm going to go as an individual to Czech and shoot that. I don't think I'll win that. Like the PCC guys are just they're better on that close in. Like the whole sport is probably going to be, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll push stuff out farther there and then I'll be at an advantage. But Max Leograndis, Zach Smith, my boy, they're just so fast on the closer in targets. But yeah, I want to go do that. And then obviously I think the long-term goal, I want to go to some more European rifle matches, IPSC matches. Like I may or may not have a stash of ammo out there now that I can use. So yeah, I'm gonna go shoot some more matches out there and try to win probably the next Rifle World Shoot. And yeah, it's hard. Like I had a good friend, Alan Webster. He hit me up after. He's the only, everybody's congratulating me, and he was the only one that was like, "Hey man, like you need to celebrate later because you need to establish goals right now, or you're gonna feel lost." And yeah, I definitely understand what he's saying. It's a weird feeling, like winning a world championship. It's different than winning anything else that I've ever won. Not to say I'm like bummed or anything. Like I'm stoked. It's fucking awesome. It's like the coolest thing that I've ever done, but also kind of strange. so yeah, trying to have some goals. I think PCC will be really fun, and I like shooting stuff that I designed too. So it adds like another level of enjoyment to the shooting for me.
What about teaching?
I'm up for teaching. For a short time, I quit my job when I worked at Tesla, and I was teaching full time back in 2019. And I enjoy teaching small groups of people. I found that I don't like doing really big classes because I want to like really teach people. Like I want to be involved in what they're doing and really understand the individual. I don't find it value in like barking commands at a line of 20 people. It's just, some people can do it and they can get value to those shooters. For me, I need to be maximum like 4 or 5 people, small groups. So yeah, I'm up for training. And I mean, to be completely honest, like, I'm trying to transition to, working with Unrivaled full time and then probably doing training as well. Small classes, but I'm not really like seeking it out right now. If people wanted to contact me or something, I would be willing to do some stuff like to set something up. But yeah, I've done a lot of training in the past. I think I've made a lot of people better at shooting. And honestly, my favorite is teaching one-on-one or two people at a time. Like a group of 2 people is my favorite. I feel like they both get a lot out of it. I'm smacking them like, you're loading mags, you're shooting, back on it. I totally understand. Like my brain's able to understand their flaws and like what they each need to individually be working on, and I can really like isolate their skills and get a lot out of it. Like more so than, even though a small group of 5 is good, a small group of 2 is like my what I really prefer.
Well, I mean, you do have a historic opportunity here since you are the world champion. I think a lot of people are going to be interested to see what you have to say, because it's not like winning a local match. I mean, this is quite the achievement. You said you had some sponsors that you want to mention. Who are, besides IWI, which I hope we can mention on the show without being boycotted.
Hopefully there's no Free Palestine people listening that are going to be mad.
Probably not to my show, but go ahead.
So yeah, what I was going to mention was that like I didn't have support in this from USPSA. I mean, they didn't pay anything. I got 1 jersey out of this. So I'm paying out of pocket. All my training's out of pocket. And IWI and Dissident Arms decided, like, they didn't have to do this at all, especially Dissident. Like, all that I use is a Dissident stock. I don't use their whole gun, nothing. But they decided to get money together to pay for my travel. So they paid for my flight. Me and my girlfriend Paige paid for our flights and our VRBO that we stayed in for the entire match in Finland, and that was freaking awesome of them. And I mean, back in the States, I have other sponsors. Like I shoot Terran guns. Not quite sure if I shoot for Terran anymore, but I shoot Terran's pistols. They're great pistols. And then I've had support from so many other companies. Scott Green, his LAG Tacticals made me a ton of belt accessories, same as Pro 2 Customs, which is what I used. Like my mag pouches I used for this match for Pro 2 Customs. Vortex has been huge. Vortex has literally helped me out from day one. Like I met Ruben and Adam Maxwell at that Texas match I was talking about, the Vortex shooter source, and I was like, hey man, do you guys want to sponsor me? I won a match. And just totally the best guys. Like they've just supported me every step of the way. And honestly, I wouldn't use their it's the only stuff I want to use. Like I really don't find that there's any other scope I would rather be an optics I'd rather be using. That's a big thing for me. I just won't use stuff that if I don't think it's the best or if I don't think it's gonna fit me. Like the PCC stuff in the past, I don't want to use something that I don't like, and I've turned down sponsorships from companies that made products that just didn't quite fit me. So yeah, and we'll see moving forward. I have some new stuff that I'm some companies I'm talking with since after World Shoot, so I'll probably have some more support moving forward, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, largely this has been, people think that us guys that are, especially somebody who won a world championship, they're like, oh, this dude's probably like getting 10,000 rounds for free and he's like getting everything. No, it's like none of that, dude. I live in an apartment. I live in like an 800 square foot apartment. I drive a Honda Accord. I'm just like a normal dude. I spend a lot of my money on the ammo and the training time. And, I work kind of a unique job, but, like, it's not like I make some crazy amount of money. Like, I'm just a normal dude that really loves rifles.
Well, that's awesome. And, it was great talking to you. I mean, I love talking to people and I love talking to world champions. You're now at that, plateau looking down on the rest of us folks. And, we're looking up to you saying, give us something so we can get better. No, but thank you very much for coming on the show and sharing your background and your experience at the World Shoot. And obviously, congratulations. And we look forward to hearing more from Kyle in the future. Best way to people get in touch with you, I know you got an Instagram. That's how we've been communicating. I'll link that in the show notes. You can mention in case people don't read the show notes, your Instagram handle.
Yeah, Instagram, Kyle Litzie, so it's KYLELITZIE. And you got to spell the whole thing out. I'm mega shadow banned like everybody is. And then, unrivaled _ technologies is my my company. So if you guys follow them, that'd be super cool too. I have a Facebook. I don't use it. I think a lot of people message me. I have not looked at that shit in 5 years or something. I don't use the Facebook. So
yeah, it's a dying art. Okay. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to the Firearms Nation, and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on. Appreciate it, Art.